I got just about everything done that I wanted to on the test board, so I decided to give it a nice paint job to make it look a lot nicer than just the wood board that it was mounted to before. And I went with the old toaster front loader style paint job on there, and I think it turned out pretty well. It could have turned out a little bit better, but I didn't want to spend too long with the paint and sanding things down, so I'm pretty happy with the way it turns out, and it does look a lot better than it did before. Now what I've done is all the ICs are socketed. I might end up removing this unused connector as well, and I might socket some of the power crystals, but I don't come across many of the crystal oscillators being damaged, so I didn't socket those in. I just kind of stuck to the ICs for now. So also I have made it so I can swap out the power switch and also the controllers, and test out some other ones if I get a junk unit, so I can make sure those are working as well. Now, I originally had a different card edge connector, one that was a 90 degree, so the games would go in faced up, kind of facing this way, but I thought that was got in the way, and there was some problems with the connectors, because if you I pointed this out in my last video, the pitch of the pin connectors you can get easily online are slightly different than the ones that were used on the Nintendo, so they're a little bit offset. You can make it work with one of them, but when you introduce the second one, like I had to do with the 90 degree adapter I made, it was causing some issues with the games running properly. So let me test it out. The games slide into the front here, and since this is a little bit different of the pitch, sometimes it won't fire up properly, but I would say 90% of the time it'll start up just right the first time. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I don't see any need to cannibalize a Game Genie or anything like that to make this work. So it's pretty easy to test out the chips if you need to. I'll make sure that's discharged. So if I wanted to swap out a chip and test it, I can just pull the one out of the board there and replace it with a one that I'm suspecting of being damaged from a console I'm trying to repair. So this makes it a lot easier to troubleshoot a console that is giving me issues. Now, one of the things I like to do is, if I'm opening up a unit and repairing it, I like to pull out the power module and change out the capacitors, and sometimes this is what's actually causing the problem in the unit. So I wanted a way to be able to test them on my test unit fairly easily. So basically what I have here is a second ground. This one's connecting to the one that's hooked up, so I've got a secondary ground here and a pin over on the other side, so I can slide the power module through that pin and line things up on the second pin that has the ground on it. If I press down just a little bit, it holds everything nice and snug, and then from there all I have to do is swap out the connectors and the power supply. Trying to do this with the one hand, a little difficult sometimes. Then I have this connector here that's soldered to the board that has all the connections that go to the pin there. And that'll just connect to the new power supply. And sometimes these chips might come out a little bit. It's mostly due to board flex. I might put something underneath some of these center sections of the board to kind of support it a little bit more to prevent flex. That's one of the things I might do down the road. But I can easily take the board out just by, I can remove this ground that's just screwed in there, remove that screw, and then the screw is holding this to my test board, and I can pull out the entire motherboard and makes additional changes to it, so that way it's not all stuck here and a pain to get out. Anyways, so I've got the new RF module, power module connected, and I can test it out and make sure it's working. So I'm pretty happy with the way that it came out. So I can test power modules, I can test the controllers, the switches, obviously the games. I can switch out all the ICs and test those as well, and I might add some other sockets so I can test oh, I forgot to mention the transistor. I can change out the transistor for the video, and that's normally located right here, but I have it coming around there so I can easily swap it out and change that. Now it's a PNP transistor with the ECB configuration. I have one that's not the original one in because it has a little bit better gain than the original one, but I can test with the original ones and replace it with this. Now this transistor here can actually go into the board and change it out, but it is a little bit of a tight fit, but it's an option. You can get those fairly cheaply on Amazon or Mouse or any of those electronics places. So there it is. There's the test board, and I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. Let me pull that out and take a focus in on it, and there it is. Thanks for watching.